The UFC returns to Brazil for UFC 301, and we got a card full of Brazilian fighters. Alex, you mentioned the Brazilian fans. They're going to be loud. They're going to be heard on Saturday night.
They will. They will make their presence known multiple times.
I think the thing they chant in Portuguese, it's the rough translation to the fighters fighting the Brazilians when they're walking out is "You will die." It's like "You will die here" or something. Very intimidating.
I like that.
We're going to cover the whole main card. It's a 5-fight main card, as all pay-per-views are. And we're going to start with the opener. Paul Bearju Craig, the Scottish 36-year-old, taking on Chao
Borralho.
Borralho. You always got the pronunciations. I appreciate
man,
that.
we got the technology at our fingertips. I give the name a goog.
I should probably do that, but fuck it.
One of these days you might.
We got the Bearju, the Scottish Bearju, taking on the Brazilian natural. Chao is 5-0 in the UFC. 1 sub, 4 decisions. Bearju, Paul Craig, 9-7-1 in the UFC. He's coming off of a bad submission loss to Brendan Allen. Chao coming off of a unanimous decision win against Abbas Magomedov.
Yep. It's been a tough go in the past 5 for Paul Craig. 2-3 in the
Paul
last
Craig,
5.
he's one of my favorite guys, but man, he makes it hard to be a fan of him because even in the fights he wins, usually he takes a beating.
Yeah, he does take a beating often. He gets that nose pretty clobbered up. I mean, looking at him healthy, his nose takes some pretty crazy angles. So, imagine they straighten it out a couple times when they hit him.
Out of his 17 career wins, 13 of them were by submission.
It's impressive, but it also shows like he's been knocked out 4 times.
He's only been to the card once.
That's
out
impressive.
Of 25 career fights.
Yeah, that's an impressive stat as well.
But that means he's either choking you out pretty much, or you're knocking him out.
Yeah, odds are. So Caio Borralho, he's like a decision king.
Decision
he has power.
He's fun to watch though. He's a decision guy, but he's entertaining.
Respectful. Looking at him, he looks cocky.
He's never been finished.
He's very respectful. He means business when he goes in there to fight.
Yeah, anytime you have a dumbass neck tattoo, you look cocky, but he's not cocky at all.
Yeah, and he would kill you for saying that.
He probably would, but...
And he could. So, yeah.
Never going to meet him.
I'm going to send this clip to him, so just don't worry. Hopefully that will encourage him to meet you. Either way, I think the odds, being as crazy as they are in Borralho's favor, are painting the picture exactly how it's going to go out. I think Caio Borralho is going to win the fight.
I think he goes out there and dominates for 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep it distance. He's going to stuff the wrestling with the Bearju, and he's going to do everything it takes to win the fight. Probably secure his 8th decision victory.
Pretty much, if you're fighting Paul Craig, when you're beating him, don't get caught in a crazy submission.
Yeah, don't.
Because he's known as you're beating him, he'll throw up a triangle or something and choke you out or break your arm.
Right. If you're Jamal Hill, he'll do both.
So just watch out for that, and he should be good. So I got Chao winning the fight.
Next up, staying in the middleweight division, we have Michel Demoledor Pereira.
The Brazilian.
Taking on Ihor, the duelist Potieria.
I didn't realize, I like Pereira. I like watching him fight. I didn't realize how hot he's been. 7 straight wins, 8-2 in the UFC.
But that's across 2 divisions. He had trouble making weight. One of the first podcasts we had when the audio was all... he missed weight by like 3 pounds, and
he just didn't give a fuck.
Then he came out and just dominated, which is
Then he tried to do the same thing against Wonder Boy, and Wonder Boy's like, nah.
Yeah, I'm not fighting this guy. So then after that missed weight, they forced him to go up a weight class, and he has not changed at all. He's just been able to kind of get bigger.
I mean, he's one of the guys, you watch him, he is one of the craziest guys in the octagon. Some of the shit he does.
Now,
it's been working for him.
Yeah, on the other end of that, Ihor Potieria, he's come down from heavyweight to light heavyweight. He's now in middleweight, which is his last fight. He beat, Robert Brycek, I think his name was.
By unanimous decision.
He showed a lot of good things there. It was the first time fighting at that weight class, but he showed that he had a lot more power. He wasn't gassed. He was wearing the weight well. I think with this camp, he's going to be a little bit better.
So he's
not quite there yet to face somebody like Michel Pereira.
He's 2-3 in the UFC, as you said. He's only fought 1 fight at this weight class. His previous 3 losses, though, at the higher weight class, all 3 knockouts.
Yeah. I think that was a big problem because you had natural heavyweights or light heavyweights fighting.
Versus a guy, that should have been cutting a little bit of weight.
Right. He was fighting at natural weights or like gaining a little bit of weight just because he's a good fighter. And you can't always do that. We see that, in a few different cases throughout, all the cards we watch. You see that become apparent, and, it's why it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, so I got Pereira winning this fight. I think he is I think he continues his streak, 8 straight wins. I think he's a guy, he's slowly moving up towards that serious contender status.
Right. With Ihor Potieria 1-3, he's 25% as an underdog. I don't see him winning. I pick Michel Pereira as well.
So let's move on to the next fight. We mentioned this guy's doppelganger earlier. We mentioned him as a possible opponent for his doppelganger. We got Anthony Smith, Lionheart.
Also 2-3 in his last 5.
2-3 in his last 5. 12-9 overall in the UFC. 37 wins, 19 losses overall in his career. Taking on the undefeated Brazilian fighter, Vitor Petrino. 4-0 in the UFC. He has 2 finishes, 1 KO, 1 sub in that. His last one was a unanimous decision over Pedro. He's a guy, undefeated, rising star. He's a guy that a lot of, you say momentum, there's a lot of talk behind him, especially with that undefeated record.
Yeah, Vitor Petrino is the 15th ranked light heavyweight. Anthony Smith is the 10th ranked. Obviously, Petrino is trying to go claim that spot. Weird stat, Anthony Smith has only beaten Ryan Spann since September of 2021.
I saw that, yeah. His last...
almost...
you mentioned 2 and 3, but his last 2 wins are both over Ryan Spann.
Right. So that's not great.
Coming off of a KO against Roundtree in December.
KO loss against Roundtree. Yeah. Roundtree's got power, so you can't really be mad about it.
And shout out Roundtree getting that fight against Jamal Hill coming up.
Yes, the UFC St. Louis. That's good for him.
No.
Or it was announced before.
It's UFC 302.
Yeah, 302.
Anthony Smith is tough, though. As much as we give him shit just for being corny and he's kind of lame.
He is tough.
But he's a tough guy. He's always down to fight, too.
The thing with Petrino, though, he often takes fights to the ground, and then he beats you up while he's on the ground. He was only going to the decision 3 times out of his 11 fights in his career, but he's still finishing guys. He just got his first submission victory, but in all of his fights in the UFC, he's at least attempted takedowns. Most of them, he's gotten multiple takedowns.
And he is undefeated, but say what you want. This is a step up in competition for him against Anthony Smith. It's a guy who's fought for a title before.
Stats that make me think Petrino's going to win, other than the Ryan Spann being the only victory since 2021.
And that robber that tried to rob his house, he beat up.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that guy. But he is 5-7 as an underdog in the UFC. That's Anthony Smith. So that makes me lean on the odds with Vegas again, saying Vitor Petrino is going to win this fight. Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you. I think Petrino wins. I think the crowd is going to play a factor as well. But yeah, Petrino remains undefeated, 12-0, 5-0 UFC. Let's move on to co-main event, Alex.
Bantamweights. That means skinny boys.
The return of the king, Jose Aldo. The king of
Brazilian.
Rio.
Yeah, the Brazilian king.
He's the king of Rio. That was his claim to fame. Former champ.
When he ran into the crowd and they hoisted him up?
Yes.
Former champ. I remember the highlights.
He's regarded by some as the best 145er ever. I think Max Holloway and Volk kind of have taken that reign from him, but at one point he was. But he's taken on Jonathan Martinez, a guy who's 19 wins, 4 losses, 10-3 in the UFC with 4 of those by KO. Coming off of a second-round TKO win with a 6-fight winning streak. Martinez is the guy that's hot, and he's a guy rising up, taking on a guy coming out of retirement.
Yep, he's rising quick. In that 6-fight win streak, he has 2 leg kick KOs.
I think his last 2 wins are leg kick KOs.
Yeah, maybe, or one space in between, maybe a decision win in between. But yeah, definitely 2 recent leg kick KOs, which is very dangerous.
Against the guy who's been boxing his last 3 quote-unquote professional fights in Aldo, so maybe that could play a factor. You can't leg kick in boxing.
Yeah, it's strange to see Aldo coming out of retirement, but I understand why. He's coming to fight with his home crowd in Brazil.
And they're all saying Dana White call him, he's saving the card,
Oh, yeah.
Making this making
it a noteworthy buy.
Noteworthy, yeah, exactly. see the King of Rio come back.
Martinez is 9-1 against orthodox fighters, and Aldo is 1-1 against southpaws. So it kind of shows where the advantages come in my opinion. Martinez is also 6-1 as the favorite. I like all these things in favor of Martinez. It makes me kind of feel like, the odds on this one are pretty close. Not really a toss-up, slight favorite.
A few interesting stats.
All right.
So although his last fight, it was a loss.
Okay.
But it was a decision loss to Merab.
Yeah.
Merab's regarded as he's getting the title.
Say his last name.
Merab is getting the title shot next.
Davashvili.
He won 3 wins before that. And it wasn't that long ago. His 3 wins before that were Chito Vera.
Yeah, he retired in 22.
Rob Font and Pedro Munoz.
And those are still
the top of the division. So I don't think Jose Aldo is some washed up guy.
No,
but saying
how'd
that,
you say he lost to Merab by decision, right?
By unanimous decision.
Right. It's not like the guy's chin left. The last time he got knocked out was in
Peter
2018,
Yan.
2019.
It was Peter Yan. Saying that, I think Aldo's going to come in game. I think he's going to come in fighting well. But I think the guy that's active and that's on a 6-fight winning streak is Jonathan Martinez. I think he's going to be the only American to come in on this main card, the only one to take down a Brazilian fighter. And I got Jonathan Martinez winning.
I agree that Jonathan Martinez wins, and I think he's going to utilize that heavy leg kick that him and his camp utilize. Him, Chris Gutierrez, the whole team. They utilize that hard leg kick, and it very obviously damages fighters. I think they're going to use that to either hurt Aldo or break down his defenses to make him think about everything, and then at that point the striking just kind of goes ham. Jonathan Martinez for the win.
So let's move on. The main event of the evening.
The what?
The main event of the evening.
All right, let's go.
We got
I'm excited.
Alexandre Pantoja, the champ, the Brazilian. 27 wins, 5 losses, 11-3 in the UFC, making his second title defense against, no offense to Steve Erceg, one of the most undeserved title shots and random title shots we've seen in a long time.
I agree that it is random and undeserved.
In terms of UFC wins.
Right. In terms of
I'm not saying he can't come in and win the fight, but it's undeserved in terms of resume.
You're right. The only thing that makes it kind of like the reason Pantoja took the fight was because
it's in Rio. He wants
nobody
to fight
else.
Yeah.
He's beaten everybody
else
new
guy
at the top of the division. So Steve Erceg, number 10, number 12, something like that.
And he's 12-1 though. He's 3-0 in the UFC, so it's not like he's been losing or anything. He's been winning.
Right.
It was
he's
a
got
surprise
some hype
title
behind
shots.
him.
11. He's 3-0 UFC, but 11 total wins in a row. He's a ground guy. He's an Aussie, so he's making the long trip over. I mean, this would be the ultimate upset if Erceg came in and won this fight.
Man, look. Pantoja, he's shown a lot of great things. Don't want to take anything away from that.
Sounds like you're about to take some things away from him.
No, he's a great wrestler.
Neither guy's ever been finished.
I don't think this is a fight where there's a finish happening. I think this is a decision fight where I think the odds are kind of right there. You could see Pantoja winning because of how great he is. He's a great striker. He's great on the ground. He's never been finished. He only loses by decision. But Steve Erceg's the same guy but younger.
Less experienced.
Less
battle tested.
Right.
Not a champ.
Maybe not. But I think it's one of these fights that it's not like Paul Craig, Caio Borralho, where it's, pretty much Caio was going to win. I think this is more of a toss-up kind of fight.
I don't think it's that big of a toss-up. I'm surprised the odds are this close, honestly. I think Pantoja is going to come in, and I think he's going to show there's levels to this and that he's the champ and that Erceg, great fighter, 12-1, he's not at this level yet.
I will say that having home field advantage, if you're Pantoja, having home field advantage, the odds are not, great.
Surprising.
Right. There's we've heard there's just a wall of noise in Brazil when you're fighting. So, that translating for Pantoja would be, what is it, -210 favorite?
-210.
That's a lot. That was when it opened. It might be a little bit less now, with a little bit of hype going to Erceg. We don't know. By the time the fight comes on Saturday, could be almost dead even. I think Erceg's going to surprise the world and win the title at 28.
Think you, that's a little pipe dream from you. I think Pantoja comes in, as I said, he proves he's the champ. He proves his levels to this. I'm going to say Pantoja finishes Erceg.
So this
I
week,
think he gets a submission win.
this week on UFC, it's going to come down to one fight amongst us again.
I think so. And I'm
with
taking the
Erceg.
champ.
You're taking Pantoja.
Let's see how it turns out.
Let's go.